typhoons and corruption. This is your brief but brief. Over the span of 1 week, the Philippines has been rocked by back-to-back typhoons, bringing with it more than a month's worth of rainfall and significant storm surges, resulting in flash floods and landslides across multiple regions, severely damaging almost 80,000 homes, affecting 4.8 million Filipinos, and claiming just above 250 lives. But in the midst of what was a natural disaster, the extent of its destruction is arguably man-made, more specifically flood control measures, with almost 50% of residents living in areas highly susceptible to flooding. It would make sense for there to be mitigations. However, in the Cebu province, the most affected by the typhoon, many of the resulting deaths were concentrated in areas where flood control infrastructure was supposed to be in place. The province had up to 26 billion pesos allocated for flood control since 2016, 14 billion of that notably being since 2023. This money was directly facilitated by this federal department to build 414 projects to include embankments, drainage, and river channels. Yet, as we can see, areas were still massively flooded. Following the typhoon, Cebu's governor and local audits physically confirmed that just over half of these projects were present and effective, with many others that the DPWH claimed to be complete were either substandard, unfinished, or outright missing. Which links back to the nationwide scandal of these so-called ghost projects, up to 6,000, valued at 350 billion pesos out of the 500 billion specifically allocated for flood control measures arising since 2019, many of which followed Typhoon Odette in 2022 when the government desperately sought to show the public they were capitalizing on climate and disaster risks, so much so that the influx of contracts to build these projects outpaced proper oversight, which many politicians saw as an opportunity to abuse the system. According to whistleblower testimony, these politicians would coordinate with DPWH officials to ensure certain contractors would win the bid for a flood control project. In exchange, they would receive a kickback valued at 10 to 25% of the awarded contract. The projects would be paid in full. DPWH officials would forge fake completion certificates, and the projects would be left either incomplete or lacking quality so that there was more money these government officials could pocket. In lieu of this rigged favoritism, a monopoly was formed. 20% of these flood control contracts went to 15 companies, and out of those 15, 9 belonged to the Discaya family, who were shown to have ties to the House's Speaker. The corruption here is so daunting that the Discayas and many other of these beneficiaries have openly flaunted their extravagant wealth on social media, which, as you can imagine, the public wasn't too happy about. When you consider that millions have been affected by the flood control projects these companies intentionally failed to implement,